Brett Dolan joining us, broadcaster extraordinaire. Brett, all right, where in the world is Brett Dolan today?
Lovely Fayetteville, Arkansas, and you're right, it has been a couple of weeks. But then again, you've been floating down the Grand Canyon and doing a bunch of stuff too. So it's not just me. You've been out living the best life.
That's right. I've been turning myself into an outdoorsman, Brett, which you know is not me really. So it was a lot of fun. Missed a few things on the way back too, and I think were you in Bristol? What was going on at the ESPN headquarters? What brought you there?
Well, I was passing through Hartford, and I got a chance to see everything. So it was just a quick tour, but I visited my kid who was his team was up in Hudson Valley, and I took him to West Point, and then I flew across the country, which is always interesting. So I've been trying to rack up as much as I can here in the last few weeks before we crank up the fall sports calendar.
Football practice starts tomorrow for the Hogs, Brett. Give me something outside of Talon Green that you can hold on to for this team. What is it that you know you can trust at the moment? Well,
that's a harder question to answer than I thought it would be when you started. So many things went wrong last year. I think anytime, though, that a team in the SEC, not named Alabama or Georgia or LSU, starts to put forth a path to, 9-10 wins, it requires a little bit of things falling into place. And by that, I mean you got to stay healthy. You have to develop in a short amount of time. And I think that's what's so hard about it. I think we're seeing this at other sports. It's really hard to gain a little bit of momentum. And this Arkansas team, if they're going to be someone better than a 6 or 7 win team, they need momentum. They need a lot of things to go right. I hope their offensive line is better. Certainly Talon Green and his experience is part of that, but then you've got to have some receivers that are all new. So I think some receivers have to step up. I think the offensive line has to be better, and that would be a good starting point, at least for me.
After the LSU quarterback, Brett, who would you say is the second, third best quarterback in the SEC?
Well, yeah, you're right. I think Nussmeier's clearly up there. Lagway has an injury right now. And Sellers of South Carolina, I know there's a lot of hype around him. He's still relatively young. I might throw Arch in that mix just because I think he's had the benefit of being able to build without playing a lot. But, there are a couple of exciting players that I don't know if we know as much about them as we will in 2 or 3 months, meaning Lagway and Sellers. But I would probably put Arch behind Nussmeier for now.
Where you put Talon Green? I mean, if you're talking about physical attributes, I mean, Talon's got it all. I think there's just a question as to can everybody else around him allow him to show off those physical traits and maybe in his own mind give him the peace that he needs to know that, he's not about to get dragged down at a moment's notice.
That does help, right, when you're staying clean and giving him a chance to showcase his abilities. I think, to your point, when it comes to a combination of arm strength or speed, I do think there are aspects, if he was in a combine, that you would say are as good as just about anybody. It still comes down to me to game execution at key points. I think that's probably an obvious statement, but I think that's probably what separates players. And I know that some of the individuals that we just mentioned, maybe they have more weapons around them than Talon did last year, and we'll see about this year. But I still think there's another tier or two to executing or putting everything together for him. But having said that, again, you start from a good point. There is some acceleration, there is some speed, there is certainly some arm strength. It's a matter of being able to now put it into football terms rather than just strictly the athletic skills.
Texas A&M, Alabama, both programs with coaches going into year 2. If I was to say, Texas A&M knows who their quarterback is. I guess Alabama, they're going to go with Ty Simpson. I don't know if that's still a battle. Which one of those teams would you say has a better chance to make the playoff 12 in year 2?
No, I like this question, and I'm kind of thinking as I percolate in my head. I feel like maybe A&M's a little more stable than Alabama is. Maybe Alabama still has some pieces that might be better than A&M's pieces, but I think Elko has the ability at least to be kind of a 9 or a 10-win team for the most part going forward. Alabama should be in there. I'm a little cautious throwing them into that mix, considering year 2 is a big year for Alabama. I know DeBoer probably felt a little bit of heat last year replacing Saban, but I think that heat will ratchet up even further if there's a stumble early in the year. There might be a little more grace at A&M, and I do think Elko has a way of kind of being the anti-Jimbo as far as whether it's organization, whether it's just a little bit of structure or a lack of drama. But I would probably put them just a little bit ahead of Alabama, even though I do think the Crimson Tide probably top to bottom might have a little more talent.
Man, you guys should have gotten Jimbo on the touchdown radio broadcast as a color analyst. You would have had to say a lot less, Brett, working with him instead of Gino. I think Gino's great, but Jimbo will take over a broadcast. I can't wait to see him on ACC Network.
It's going to be interesting. He's a fast-talking West Virginia drawl that he has working when he gets excited. So I don't know if that's a long-term answer for Jimbo, but he'll be somewhat entertaining.
Got a pretty good schedule here. I'm looking at Touchdown Radio right here. Starting with Notre Dame, starting with Catholics and convicts. Way to go. You get the Razorbacks at Ole Miss and Oxford, too. Man, you guys have a great schedule, and 3 times you're seeing Ole Miss. Come on. Why are you guys such big Rebel fans?
Yeah, I think that's the steakhouse that's in Como, Mississippi that Gino likes. So I've got the 2 games in Ole Miss, including the Arkansas game and the LSU game in the first month. So looking forward to them. And I start with Iowa State. I don't get to start with Miami and Notre Dame. I wish I did. I've never called it a Notre Dame game. But, we're still building that. We've got a couple of holes in our calendar. But I would say, as per usual, it's kind of a interesting mix of SEC and a couple of Big Ten games, even when those Big Ten games are out on the West Coast. So, this next month it's hard to wait, because I think we get to August and we start getting fired up. We start looking at schedules and looking at games, and the days go a little bit slow, but it'll be here soon enough. And I can't wait to tee it up and kick it off.
You guys got some great rivalry games. You'll have the Iron Bowl this year. You'll have Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss. That's a great one. Florida, Miami, Arkansas, Ole Miss. Usually a great game. Notre Dame, Miami. Cy-Hawk game for an Iowa guy? Are you kidding me? You actually get to call that one?
You aren't the only one that has taken a look at that schedule and said that to me, including the voice of the Cyclones and Hawkeyes. Like, are you really coming up to do that? I'm like, yes, we'll be there and do it. We still have the possibility of maybe adding an Oregon-Iowa game at some point later on in the year, one of our open dates. But, yeah, Cy-Hawk, that'll be my first game. So nothing like a game in Ames at 11 a.m. with a rivalry game early in the year when it's kind of tough to find some of those marquee matchups after week 1. But, yep, that'll kick things off for me.
Trading deadline today, Brett, brings back some memories. There was a moment where there's 2 memories I have from it. One of them, I saw Gene Segura get traded off the Travelers along with 2 other prospects to go to the Brewers, and I think that's how the Angels got Zach Greinke. And the team that year, the AA team, was terrible. The Travelers were awful that year. But the manager told me no matter what, that year was successful for the AA team because they basically traded their 3 best players for Zach Greinke. That was a moment where I started thinking to myself, maybe I should look at college baseball because they'll care about winning there a little bit more. The other one was watching Jeff Mathis watch Peter Gammons on ESPN say that he's getting traded. And I'm looking at Jeff, and I'm standing there right next to him, and I said, have you heard about this? I didn't heard it. He did not get traded either. And it's just funny watching the talking head say, this is about to happen, and it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, no, that happened a couple of days ago, I think, with one of the Twins relievers who was hugging a teammate in the bullpen, and it caused all kinds of rumors, and he just happened to be hugging a teammate in the bullpen. It wasn't goodbye. I remember Hunter Pence being taken off the field mid-game for us. I think we were in Milwaukee and traded to Philadelphia with a very emotional posture because, he wasn't sure if he was going to be traded. Usually it's just the first organization you're ever a part of when you get sent packing. It does feel like, though, Phil, in baseball right now, there are more flawed teams than ever. And that means teams can't make up their mind. Are they in it? Are they out of it? They all have needs. They all have 14 guys on the injured list. So I don't know if we'll see a lot of moves or not, but I think we're going to see a few more big names in these next few days as these teams just try and navigate the next couple of months to see if they can win a championship in a year where there are truly no dominant teams. The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets all have warts. So it does feel it's open for a team that might be able to make a big move today.
Yeah, Tigers and Brewers have warts too, and I think they still have the best records right now in Major League Baseball. But yeah, the next couple of months ought to be pretty interesting. That's for sure in terms of baseball. But today's a unique day when it comes to hugging season and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting watching Arizona, kind of dismantle the team. And it's just 2 years ago they win the National League pennant, lose a great World Series. But that also shows you, that was a team that won 84 games, caught fire. And they were a little bit better last year, but it also goes to show when you get 6 teams that make the playoffs off each league, you may end up with more of those teams just sort of selling off a couple of years later like Arizona is.
1,000% agree. There's going to be teams that get hot, that make a nice run. The fans are going to think, well, this is the first of many runs, and maybe it's somewhat isolated. There's going to be some poor performance, some injuries, and all of a sudden, very shortly after, they're trading some of those key pieces, and in some sense is starting over. It's tough for the fans, but, we're kind of used to it in the college football and basketball range in the transfer portal, and, it's no different. It's quick turnover and turmoil at the Major League Baseball level.
Did you see the press conference with Van Horn yesterday, or maybe it was a couple days ago? It was the first time I'd ever heard him reference the amount of money that players have signed for collectively. It was like a John Calipari moment, but much less money in that case. I think he quoted over $10 million. I added it up. The guys who were drafted off this year's team made a collective $12,221,300, which is a lot of money for Major League Baseball signing bonuses off of one college team.
Yeah, and front-loaded, too, with those top 4, which, you'll go years and years with good teams where you don't have 4 players taken in the top 40, and I'm with you. It was a little bit interesting. I mean, I think they've long advocated that Hagen Smith a year ago got the biggest signing bonus of any left-hander in baseball to that point. Now they've had 4 players generate a lot, and they're getting pretty good at it. The one thing that caught my attention, Phil, when he was asked about Remy Cofield, and he said, we've got things under control. We deal with agents all the time. We deal with parents. We deal with the draft. We've got a pretty good rhythm with this. We understand what it's going to take, what money these players could make. And I thought, yep, you do. I mean, that's why this program has been so successful during these turbulent times.
What do you think Cofield's role is with baseball? Because what I got from I don't know if it was what he was saying about it, but from what my gathering is of his role with basketball is that I don't know if he's got one with basketball. To me, it seems like I know he's over the entire athletic department, but it still, to me, seems that it's football specifically, because I don't know what it is he's going to do with baseball.
I don't either. I think both baseball and basketball are led by some alphas who've been doing this a long time and have kind of figured out with their staffs the system, and there may be some help from a contract standpoint or maybe crossing some T's and dotting some I's. But I think for the most part, it's assisting rather than the volume of help that he needs to do with football, because Calipari's talking about 4, 5, 6 guys a year for the most part. Baseball's really, in essence, talking about 12 or 14 around their roster, and I think both of those programs have things pretty well in hand.
BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season right around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet online. The game starts here.